Sony was hacked after it turned out that The Interview, a movie starring James Franco and Seth Rogen, was upsetting the North Korean government, particularly Kim Jong-un, because he is supposed to be assassinated in the movie. Now,
hey, spoiler!
Now, a group of hackers, or maybe one specific hacker, at this point we don't know, hacked into the email accounts of many Sony executives, released salary information, very, very private emails, and Sony freaked out. So they kind of backed out of the movie a little bit. They decided to cancel all interviews with Seth Rogen and James Franco. They canceled all screenings, and they told movie theaters that they would completely understand if they decided not to show the movie. A lot of big movie theater chains decided they wouldn't show the movie after they received a terrorist threat from these so-called hackers. So in the end, Sony decided, no, we are going to allow the First Amendment to rule, and we are going to release The Interview online. And it actually broke all sorts of records for Sony. Some independent theaters did show it.
350 theaters, and there may be more.
Yeah, and Alamo Drafthouse started that process, so credit to them as well.
They're awesome.
Yeah, and so we all know First Amendment's about the government, but it's also a concept. The freedom of speech is a concept, and it's something that has to be protected. I think it's incumbent upon all of us, citizens, companies, et cetera, Americans, everybody to protect it as an idea. Even if you don't live in this country and you don't have a First Amendment in your Constitution, freedom of speech is an idea that is very important to all of us. So I think that the pushback against them canceling the movie turned out to be really positive, and the fact that they put it out, and by the way, there was no terrorist attacks on those 300 some odd theaters, of course they were bluffing, showed...
And if it was North Korea, they weren't going to attack us, because then our response of maybe shutting down their internet for a couple of days, which we either did or didn't, well, of course we did, our response would have been different if they'd attacked a movie theater. It would have been very different.
And then we would have gone together.
Then we would have bombed some Muslims somewhere.
So I want to correct myself on things that I've said in the past about the movie Interview. I remember you and I had this discussion on the Rubin Report, and you said it was a perfectly fine movie as I was bashing it because I thought it looked stupid. I watched it last night. Not bad.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, they're... I don't want to let Sony off the hook. They are gutless little bastards, man. They, so what I loved in this, I had that dumb theory. I didn't really believe it, but I was like, when they decided to pull the movie, I thought, this can't be happening. It did not make sense in my head because I knew what the reaction would be, and it was instantaneous, and we had that rare moment, where Michael Moore and Mitt Romney are on the same side. Right? And so I thought this is inconceivable that they've done this unless they're helping out the government, and this is part of the investigation. I know that's crazy, but it's the kind of thing that somebody clever would write into a movie or a book, right? So weird. And that obviously was not the case. I added that I was wrong on that. But what was right about that was this is the worst decision ever, and it's indefensible. And it was so indefensible that Sony backtracked. And then, but before they backtracked, they tried to pretend that they had never really done that in the first place. They were like, no, it was the theaters. Michael Layton, he was like, no, we stood up. We fought. We are fighters, vigorous fighters for the First Amendment. That's what he said.
No,
we're trying
ridiculous.
We have been there every step of the way. We are waiting. And he's like, we don't have a district. How do we get it out there on the internet? What's the internet? I'm like, I'm like, you're Sony, man. It takes a phone call. I mean, aside from everybody's idea about the PlayStation, right, which they ended up not even using, more than that, they apparently created their own thing. They built their own hey, and called it whatever, cuckold. This is how you.
That would be a fascinating choice of words.
This is how you watch the Sony products, and then available on YouTube. I mean, it took, I imagine, 6 hours to figure out a way to get this done. And so, no, they did back off, and they bowed to pressure. They did the right thing in bowing to pressure, but don't believe for a sec that they were fighting for the First Amendment. They were, as you said, I think you were completely right, Jank, a terrified company in a what they feared was some sort of spiral, maybe even a death spiral for some of them, career-wise. After this had come out, and they were like, let's have this be over, and let's talk about something else.